I will say that to me the question is not Maxx Crosby or Trey Hendrickson. I think if the choice is between those two guys, it's obviously Trey Hendrickson because you don't have to trade for him like you would Maxx Crosby. But the point that I wanted to make anyways is I think it's important that whether it is Maxx Crosby or Trey Hendrickson, that Jason Licht go all in on making a big move at outside linebacker, because after that, you get a lot of maybes. And those two guys are about as obviously anybody can get hurt. But those two guys, outside of potential injury, are about as sure of a thing as you're going to find at outside linebacker this offseason. You know, after those two guys, you're looking at guys like Jalen Phillips, who's a young player who got traded, obviously, to Philly at the end of the year. And, you know, I feel like he's a guy that's going to get overpaid, right? And we're going to have to overpay for Maxx Crosby or Trey Hendrickson if we bring him in here as well.
Absolutely.
Keeping their contract the same or updating their contract, whatever it is, you're going to have to overpay for those guys. But I'm willing to overpay for those guys. I'm nervous if I'm Jason Licht or as a Bucs fan to overpay a Jalen Phillips, a young player, a good pass rusher, but he's never had more than 8.5 sacks either, right? And I think the Buccaneers need an elite pass rusher. And those two guys that we started with, Maxx Crosby and Trey Hendrickson, they're the only two guys that you're certain are going to be elite pass rushers.
It's going to be hard with the Bucs, and this is kind of the problem they're in when it comes to the salary cap. When you talk about getting the needs, filling the needs, but also keeping your guys and making sure that you are within your cap compliant, you're going to have to pay Hendrickson north of $25 million a year for multiple years. And I just don't know if they're going to be able to eat that and afford that and what comes with that.
Cap's going up every year. You've got to be creative. I imagine that there are going to be some moves in the coming weeks as we lead up to the beginning of free agency that, you know, there's money coming off the books with a guy like Jamel Dean, who's going to be a free agent and likely will not be back. I think they're going to have some flexibility if they need to make a top-end move, and I believe they do. Like, you've got a plan to be able to pay a guy like that because you've got to have a guy like that on your roster unless you want a defense to look like it did last year, right? Odafe Owe is a guy who, you know, he was no sacks when he was traded to the Chargers, but then ended the season with 7.5 sacks after being traded to the Chargers. I like him a lot, but again, he's not a sure thing, and I wouldn't be upset if the Bucs went and signed him over the offseason, but I'd still feel like you need to keep being more aggressive at that option. And even if I brought in a Maxx Crosby or Trey Hendrickson, I'd probably advocate because I want a rotation of guys who can rush the passer. Right now, you got one guy who's okay at it.
I just worry when it comes to Trey Hendrickson, is he on the downward slide of his career? And battled injuries last year. He's a beast. But Maxx Crosby is next level for me. And at the age of 28, to be in his prime, to be delivering on double-digit sacks every year when he's healthy. Missed a couple games this year.
I think he's a leader, too.
Absolutely.
He's kind of energy you could use on that defense.
He wants out of Vegas because it feels like he doesn't see the winning product there.
The latest report is allegedly he told Tom Brady he's not playing for the Raiders again.
Right. And we've heard this before with we've heard this with guys that say they're not playing with the team before and they're going to end up Myles Garrett, we saw it last year. He said he's never playing for the Browns again. He ended up winning Defensive Player of the Year and breaking the sack record with who? The Cleveland Browns.
Do you believe David Njoku, who, by the way, just said he's not playing for the Browns again?
That I believe. That I absolutely believe. But when it comes to Trey Hendrickson and Maxx Crosby, I know Trey Hendrickson, free agent, you're going to have to spend a lot of money on him. I'm willing to part ways with some draft picks to get a guy in Maxx Crosby who I think is a game changer and a locker room culture changer, much like we saw with Tom Brady when he came here. Different, obviously. Tom Brady, greatest of all time, different position, quarterback position. But when you have a guy that is literally foaming at the mouth to get back, like we see in Maxx Crosby,
and to win, by the way,
and to win, you put that in a locker room where, listen, maybe you get Levante David back, and you're going to have to help upgrade that linebacking room. But with having Levante back as future Hall of Fame voice there, that leadership with a winner like Maxx Crosby, that plays, man. I
think Maxx Crosby is the prize. He's the top choice for just about any Buccaneer fan, and I would include myself in that. But I also think he's significantly more likely than any of the frees, including Trey Hendrickson, right? The desire to trade draft picks has never seemingly been there for Jason Licht. Now we'll see. Maybe he decides this is the offseason to do something different. I would be surprised. I would be surprised if the Bucks are the team that drops the picks on Maxx Crosby.
If there's any team who can do it with the Raiders with as many ties as the Bucks have with that organization, Brady's spy tech, different conference, makes a lot of sense.
He already tried, remember, Jason Licht did, to get John Spytek to trade Maxx Crosby for like a third-round pick or something. Jokingly said that when Spytek first got to the Raiders. But maybe it's time to have a more serious phone call. And I certainly would be in favor of it. And I'd be surprised after what we've seen here for a few years if you find a Bucks fan that would not be in favor of trying to trade for Maxx Crosby.